Hi, I'm Kayla. This is lovely Ollie I've got with me today. He is a golden retriever and I'm going to be showing you how to groom him, how to brush him out and tidy his feet as well. He's very tired because he's had a nice little walk, so he's going to be a very tired pup this evening. But I've just got some products here on the side that we're going to use. So I've got a Groom Professional Slicker Brush. I know, is that good? I've also got a Coat King. These are really good to remove the really thick, dense coat around the neck and also around the bottom area. And then I've got an Undercoat Rake here as well, which I'm just going to use to help me get out some of the undercoat. So we're just going to give him a nice brush through, aren't we, mate? Hello. I know, thank you. You're so nice. You're so nice, aren't you? So golden retrievers were actually bred as gun dogs. They were bred to retrieve the ducks from the lakes for their owners. The reason they done this is they have a very gentle mouth, so they didn't ruin the game when they picked it up. So they were very soft. And that's your job, isn't it, mate? Hey? Ready? I'm just gonna get him to stand up so I can do around his bottom end. I know, darling. I know. So I'm just gonna use the Undercoat Rake now to get out some of that dense coat. So golden retrievers have a double coat, which is where they have a outer coat and an undercoat. This coat is designed to protect them, so when they're out in all weather, they don't get cold or hot in the sun and in the cold. Good boy. This back area is really important because they get really knotty around here, so I know. And they normally don't like you brushing around there. He's like, oh, come on, darling. I know. I know. I'm going to pop a little belly strap on you so that we can trim your bum. So I'm just going to use this belly strap to help him stand so that he stands up for me. Here we go. I know, darling. I'm sorry. Ready, Ollie? Up, up, up. Good boy. Good boy. There we go. Some dogs need these belly straps just to help them stand, and it helps them feel a bit more secure and steady on the table, which is quite important. This is quite a daunting process for a dog. So when they're up high, they feel a bit insecure sometimes. So it's good to make them feel at ease. He's got a beautiful coat, haven't you? So I'm just gonna remove some of this dead undercoat here. And the featherings here are designed to protect them. So when they go in the shrubs and in the water, it doesn't hurt their organs and their kind of around their private parts and things like that. That's a good boy. You got a little tangle there, baby. Let's grab this out. There we go. We got it. If they've got a little knot, you can just hold their root of their hair so that you don't pull it, because it's not nice if it gets pulled, the same as our hair. We just hold it at the root and get that out. I know. I know, Mr. I know. Come on, darling. There we go. You're okay. You're okay. Pop, pop, pop. Do you want this? There we go. Okay. So I'm just going to move on to his tail now. He's got a flag tail here, so we're going to brush it out and then trim it into shape. You don't like me touching around your bottom, do you? I don't blame you, mate. And it's really important to move this dead undercoat, because if it's not removed, they can overheat. They can get quite hot and bothered. So it's really important to remove it to keep them cool and comfortable. I know, that's a good boy. There we go. There we go. Nearly done, baby. So now I'm going to get my comb. I've got an anti-static comb here. I know you like that. I've got an anti-static comb, which I'm just going to go through and make sure I have removed all of the tangles that need removing. By regular grooming on these dogs, it really helps their skin. Golden retrievers are known to have quite dry skin and flaky skin. So by regularly grooming them and removing the undercoat, you just really promote good skin health and good coat health as well. And the comb should glide through the coat. So you can see there's a little tangle there. I know, darling. So I'm just going to hold it at the root. He knows it's there. He knows it's not there. You're okay. Good boy. So I'm just going to hold it and tease it out because it's not a big one. If it's a big one, I'd use my thinners and just get that out. But he's a tiny one. There we go. Good puppy. I know, you're so clever, aren't you? I know. There we go. You're okay. You're okay. You're okay. All right? There we go. Don't like your tail being combed, do you? There we go. So once you've finished removing all the dead undercoat, we're going to move on to trimming. Stand up, darling. There we go. Okay. It's all right. It's all right. So paw care is really important so that they don't slip and slide on the floor. You can see under their paws, they have quite a lot of hair here. So when they go on tiled floor, they can slip quite easily. So we remove all of this. When you are trimming their feet, you have to be really careful around this section here because they do have a bit of skin. So you have to be really careful that you don't cut that. Now I'm going to use my 10 blade here on his pads. I know, darling. And that's just to clear out the hair. Good boy. Good boy. I know, good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Good. There we go. There we go. We'll just do the back one as well. There we go. Then I'm going to do his nails. When you're cutting the nails, it's really important to know where the quick is, because if you quick them, you're going to make them bleed. So you just look from underneath and see where it is. He's got really good nails, actually. If they wear them down quite a lot on the pavement, it helps a lot. I know. Good boy. Let's just do this back one. You really don't need to take much off of his nails. And it's just so they don't tap on the floor. If they get long nails, they can cause a lot of joint problems. So you need to make sure that they don't have long nails. Right, so I'm going to grab my scissors now to start trimming his feet. Forgot which scissors are which. No, not those ones. These ones. So I'm going to use the Luminosa thinners and the Luminosa small ball nose scissors. Good boy. And normally they have tickly feet. Any dog has tickly feet. So I just run my scissors over slightly just so they get used to the sensation of me touching them. And before I start trimming anything. Good boy. Well done. Good boy. Then I'm going to start just trimming in between these toes. I know it tickles. I know. And then I just pull up any hair from in between the toes. I know, darling, it tickles. I know. Shh, 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 shh. It's okay. It's okay. And then I'm just going to thin across the top. And using the thinners leaves quite a natural finish. If you use straights, I do use straights to remove the bulk, but if they don't have much there, just leaving the thinners leaves quite a natural finish on the foot, which is quite nice. And then I just round the foot here. And this is just taking any of the hair off of the floor that's hanging on the floor. Come on, darling, stand up. There we go. Hello. And then I just check from underneath to make sure I've got all of the bits that have been missed by the clippers. And that just tidies them right up. A nice tight foot. So this type of foot is called a cat foot. It's where we go in between the toes to reveal the toes and make it look nice and tight and tidy. I know. Ready? Should do this one? And again, I'm just pulling it up from between the toes to make sure, because otherwise when they go home, they shake. And if you haven't got everything that's in between the toes as well, it just comes up later. And then looks messy. I know, sweetheart. I know. Come on, darling. Stand. Good. I know. Thank you. Good boy. Do you want a treat? Okay. Good boy. There we go. So now I've cleared in between the back toes, I'm going to do the same as the front foot and just round it off here. Good boy, I know. Stand up. And on the back of the feet, if there's any excess hair on the hock, then we also take this off as well. So this is the hock here, this hair, and we also leave this, because you can see at the moment it's protruding and it looks quite messy. So we're going to take that off as well. So brush it up. I normally use my thinners for this because they don't have much trimming done. If you use too straighter scissors, then it can leave a bit of a line and it doesn't really fit in with the rest of the groom, because the groom's quite a natural groom. And just make sure you brush up and just double check you've got all of the hair. I know, mister. There we go. There we go. Your comb is your best friend when you're grooming. If you're not using your comb every 2 seconds, you need to pick it up, because it is honestly your best friend. I use it as my left hand. So I'm going to move on to the back end now. So around here we should have a triangle shape. So you're aiming to go from their bottom right down to their hock if they're having a trim. Some people do like them left quite natural, so some people don't have them trimmed at all. It does depend on the dog and the owner. So just check in what they want. I'm not going to take too much off of him because he has got a beautiful coat and I don't want to ruin it. So I'm just going to set in my lines, and I'm using the Luminosa straight range here. There we go. Good boy. And you can see just by taking the ends off, it makes it look a lot tidier. And for pet owners, not as muddy when they go for their walks, which is always nice. And I just hold the tail out the way while I'm doing this as well. Okay. Good boy. And then again, I just go over with my thinners just to soften it and make it lay flat. Good boy. I know, darling, I know. There we go. Come on. Stand up. There we go. And this boy doesn't want to stand at all. Which we do get in salons quite a lot. It's just finding ways to work around the dogs to make sure they're comfortable. Good boy. So normally I find it easier working in a routine when I'm grooming. So I try and do one side and then I do the other side. I match it. So I've done both the feet first because I find that really helps to set in my shape and set in my lines. And then I go over and do the featherings. My method does depend on what dog I'm doing. I do a different method for kind of each breed. It's okay, it's okay. It's okay, it's all right. There we go. So this is what we call a skirt. I'm not going to take too much off his skirt because again he has quite a natural trim, but I'm just taking off those ends just to make his groom a bit tidier and a bit neater. Good boy. And then on the front leg, you don't want to make it too banana-y. So it's quite easy to make this leg quite banana. Some people nip in here and it's quite easy to take in. You want to follow the natural shape of the leg and just take away anything that's hanging on the floor. And when you're grooming, the products you use are really, really important as well. It's really hard to get a good groom on a dog if you haven't used good products. So just have a look through your shampoos and see what benefits. Each dog is different, so just see what works best for that dog. There we go. Good boy. Good. So the key area on these dogs that get matted is the bottom area and around the ears. So I find it really helpful, especially on a pet trim, just to thin under the ears a little bit, because you can see all of this hair here. It's prone to matting and a lot of owners can't get to this area to brush. So it's quite handy if we can thin it out a little bit. Good boy. So just thin into it and then you can brush it out a bit easier. With the double coat, it's a myth that if you clip them, they'll be cooler. In summer, we get a lot of people asking us to clip their golden retrievers or their double coated dogs. And we would never ever advise it unless the vet has given a medical reason to do so, because they naturally can cool themselves down and warm themselves up in all weather. That's what their coat is designed to do. So if you clip it, unless there is a medical emergency that has to be clipped, I wouldn't recommend clipping their coat because they can have all sorts of problems after. So we're going to move on to the other side now. You can see I've done this side quite naturally because I think it looks quite nice on him. This depends on the pet owner. It's really important to ask your customers what they want. If they want a short trim, a long trim, a natural trim, because they're the ones, it's their dog, they're the ones you're trying to impress. So just really important to double check. Don't go ahead and scissor a golden retriever all over really short if the owner's asked for a natural trim. So just double check that. So I'm just going to move on to the other feet now. So I'm going to start again with his pads. I know. So I'm just using a 10 blade here on the clippers just to clear any excess hair there. I know, darling. I know. I know. I know. And Ollie is quite a good representation of dogs that we see every day in the salon. Not all of them stand like you see at Crufts when they're running around the ring and standing beautifully, because it's different for every dog, just like people are all different, dogs are all different. So I'm using this belly aid here, which is padded for their comfort. This is really important just to give them that bit of extra comfort here. So make sure you've got a really good belly strap, and you can see it's got the loops here as well, so you can adjust it for each dog. And I'm just using that to help him stand up, along with some positive reinforcement, lots of treats, lots of salmon treats to make him feel a bit more confident on the table. So while he's standing, I'm just going to trim this little foot. I know, darling. And sometimes I pop my elbow under here to help them stand. So if he wants to sit down, he can sit on my shoulder. Does mean you take the weight a little bit, but if it helps him, it helps him. There we go. And you can see it's just much quicker for him. There we go. So same as the other side, I'm going to pull all the hair up from in between the toes. I know, I've got ticklish toes too, mate. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. I'm just going to take off the bulk and then go over with my thinners over the top. And the thinners just leave a much softer finish on the coat. Good boy. I know. I'm doing your feet. I'm such a meanie, aren't I? There we go. So again, I'm just rounding off the foot once I've taken the bulk off. Just do that. There we go. Good boy. Then we'll move on to the front foot. I find doing feet first a lot easier because it's normally the bit they don't like. As you can imagine, we wouldn't want scissors in between our toes. So most dogs don't want scissors in between their toes, is the honest answer. So I try and do it first just so that it's over and done with, and then we can move on to the rest of the groom. Good boy, you're doing really well. Well done. I'm just going to get him a treat because he's standing really nicely now. Here you go. Good boy, that's good standing. Well done. There we go. So same as last time, in between the toes. So dogs actually have webbed feet to an extent. It was to help them when they were working, but you have to be really careful when you're scissoring for this little flap of skin in between the toes here, because it's very, very easy to catch with the scissors. Good boy. I know, doing so well. There we go. And you can see I'm just taking the weight of his paw so that he doesn't have to worry about holding it up. And it just gives you that bit of extra security of knowing when they're going to move, because generally you can tell when a dog's going to move by their body language, because they tense up a little bit. So when they start tensing, that means they're going to move, and you can move your scissors out of the way in time so you don't cut them. Here we go. There we go. So once I've done the feet, I'm going to move on to just scissoring his feathers. So I'm going to, same as last time, go back to front just because I find it easier. But it's really important to find your own routine in grooming. Good boy. And he might sit down for this because I'm near his bottom. So same again, make sure you know where you want to cut. And then straight down. And when you're scissoring, it's really important not to bounce your scissors. It's quite easy to scissor like this because people are sometimes hesitant, but scissoring like this actually leaves lots of chunks in the coat and it's not as efficient. So if you can, try and really level your scissors out and practice just moving your thumb so that you get really good scissoring and a really good finish. Good boy. Sorry, mate, I just need to turn you around a bit because I can't actually see what I'm doing. Good boy. And the same as the other side, you're going from the bottom to the hock is your line as a little triangle. Sorry, mate. I know, I'm around your bum. I know. So I'm just trying to put my arm under his belly just to help him stand, and I'll hold his tail out the way. When you're a groomer, you have to have 8 arms to do everything. I always wish I was an octopus. It'd be so much easier. So I'm just using my thinners now because he is trying to sit down. I don't want to leave any massive chunks in his coat. So sometimes with the more fidgety dogs, it is easier to use the thinners just to leave a softer finish and make sure you don't get too much off, take too much off. I know, darling. I'm going to leave his tail till last just because it's the bushiest bit of him, and I think he's not going to like it too much, so we'll come back to that bit. Good boy. So underline again, so you're just trimming off any excess hair, and make sure you get right underneath as well, you don't just get the outside bits. And this goes up into the chest as well. Good boy. There we go. And key areas to check for matting are armpits, round the bottom and under the ears. It's quite a common place for golden retrievers to get matted in, so it's really important to check over all of those bits when you're grooming them. Good boy. So most of your work with a golden retriever is actually done when you're prepping them. So you can remove a lot of this dead coat with a blaster. If you have a really good blaster, it really helps remove a lot of this coat. So you need to make sure you're brushing when you're blasting, will really help get all of that out. I know, you've got diggly toes, don't you? I know, you're so cute. Nearly done, Bubba, promise. I know. I know. So I'm just going to do under this other ear just to thin out. He's just got a tiny knot here that I'm just going to thin out because the ear area is quite a sensitive area, so I don't want to pull that out. There we go. And you can see by thinning it, it just lays a bit flatter under the ear. And it just makes it look a bit tidier when you put that ear down. I know, mister. Good boy. Right, so let's just do his tail. I know. I know. I left it till last, I promise. So we make sure there's no knots in the tail. I find the anti-static comb really good for this because they do go static quite easily. I know, darling, I know. I know. I know, mate. So I'm just going to thin off the end of his tail here. So I use my fingers here, just so I know where the tail is. I know, mister. So the idea is your fingers, if you're going to cut anything, you'd cut your fingers and not the dog. So I always put my fingers in the way. Good boy. And then once you've taken the end off, that sets in your shape for the rest of the tail. No, mister. Come on. There we go. I need you to stand to do your tail. All right, mate. I know. I know. I know. I know, mister. I know. I know, you don't like your tail. I know. I know. There we go. So once you've brushed it out, you're just following the natural shape of the tail up into the line that you've put in at the end. And this is called a flag tail. He's a good boy. Good boy. Good boy. You just have to comb it out, make sure you've got all of the little bits. That's a good boy. I know. I know, darling. I know. I just got to get this bit. When you are lifting their tail, you have to be really careful of their spine. So you have to take dog's anatomy into a groom at all times, especially with elderly. You have to be really careful. You don't want to lift their tails. If they don't have a natural flume tail, you don't want to lift their tails over their head. So retrievers don't have a flume tail, so you wouldn't want to lift it up too high. So you can see I'm just slightly moving it out of the way just to trim around his bottom area. There we go. There you go, you can sit down now. Do you want to sit? Sit. Go then, sit. Sit, sit, sit. Good boy. Good boy. I know. There you go. There we go. So when you're using restraints, it's really important to brush under the restraints so that you don't miss any tangles or knots. Just make sure your dog's secure and you don't leave them on the table so they don't make a run for it. Good boy. I'm just going to comb round where the neck strap was just to make sure I don't miss any bits. Oh, is that nice? And to finish, I'm going to spritz him with some lovely fragrance spray. I'm using Prince today because he is a prince, aren't you? You're a prince. So that's the end of my groom on Ollie, the golden retriever, and this is a really good pet salon groom. Really good, easy to manage, nice short featherings but not too drastic, and it's really nice on this breed. Thank you.